What's up, guys? It is Thursday, and that means tomorrow is game day between Chelsea and West Ham United. The current, I want to be respectful, but if we're being quite honest, they're a team that's kind of starting to turn into a bit of a doormat. And what I mean by that is they're a potential relegation team for sure. You can put it any way you want. Graham Potter is having I don't want to be dramatic either, but kind of a generational downturn as a manager. He was at Brighton and positive, all things positive, young coach, bright, good at bringing players together. Comes to Chelsea, terrible. Takes a break from coaching, comes to West Ham. There's a little bit of hope, right, for him coaching there, and things have not turned out all that well so far for him. However, we still should not discount West Ham United. Maybe I still will at my prediction, but nonetheless, we're still going to hop into things. We're going to jump into how have they lined up in their first matchup of the season. Will they line up the same? What are some injury news reports for Chelsea? And then lastly, a squad build and a little bit of a prediction from me. So let's go ahead and hop over and look at how did West Ham line up against Sunderland. Okay, guys, so you see right here, we're looking at SofaScore, which is a great website if you ever want to look just at stuff on your own as well. It shows player ratings, it shows statistics, it shows a lot of stuff in a really user-friendly website, which I think is cool. So this is the lineup. They use a math equation lineup that I've never seen before. Maybe my ball knowledge just isn't that good, but 3-4-1-2, at least a very interesting formation. They have Mats Hermansen in net, and I actually do really very much so like him as a goalkeeper from Leicester. And then the three center back pairing, they have Agurd, Kilman, Todibo, and then the four, they kind of have these essential wing backs, right? In this four, they have this new player, I think you pronounce it Diouf. And then Rodriguez, James Ward-Prowse, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who I actually like quite a bit. And then Lucas Paqueta, who is one of those players that I think is kind of a luxury footballer. He looks really good on the field. He glides with the ball very well, but I don't think his production is really quite what it should be, especially for all the links he had to Man City over the past couple seasons. I just don't really actually think he's quite up to snuff as what people thought he would be. And then in the front two, they have Fulkrug and Jared Bowen. Bowen by a landslide being their best player. To put it lightly, Fulkrug's been a little bit of a disaster for them, a little bit of a dumpster fire. I know he struggled with injuries as well, but I really thought he would come in and do a job for them. Because West Ham, has a history of being a tough team to play against, and he's a tough striker. He played pretty well for Borussia Dortmund, and it just has not panned out for him at all. In the average rating for West Ham in their game against newly promoted Sunderland was 6.48 as they lost 3-0. 3-0. I don't know if any of you watched this game. I watched the second half. Not only did Sunderland, I know it's showing here a somewhat mixed bag of aggression. But watching the game from an eye test, Sunderland seemed to dominate, not just from the scoreline, but from watching the game as well. So not looking great for West Ham. But what I am expecting is them to really sit back. I'm really expecting them to say, you come attack us. Hence, you see the three center backs as well as the Wan-Bissaka, who is a pretty defensive fullback as well. And you might be sitting here thinking, well, that's not great to hear because we don't play well all the time against low blocks. And I don't think they're going to be definitely as low block as some teams we will play, but they definitely will, I think, allow us to be on the front foot. But for this game, I do not think that's going to be an issue. I do think West Ham, among, I would say also probably Wolves, of pre-existing Premier League teams, I think they're going to be the ones that are really battling relegation this year. I don't think this is going to be their day either. I think Chelsea will come out the gates firing this week compared to last week against Crystal Palace, and I think it's going to be a good game. So that's kind of squad you can see. The only kind of predictions I would say to maybe see in change for them compared to last week. I think Callum Wilson, if you see here, he got subbed on. I think Callum Wilson could definitely come in for Fulkrug. I think also possibly you could see Kyle Walker-Peters, who's also a pretty decent signing, possibly play for them, and Edson Alvarez if they want something different in the midfield. But I largely think there won't be that many wholesale changes. So this is probably a similar team to what you're going to see, give or take maybe a change or two. So that is the team we're going up against in West Ham. So let's go ahead and hop over to our team, the stuff we really care about, and look at injury updates, who possibly will be available / not available for our Blues before we build our lineup. Okay, guys, so we're here on yahoosports.com, and I just want to look at a few little things. This first one I see about Tosin, I think is a little bit dated, but even still, I don't know. You see right here, this is the quote from Maresca that was right after the Palace game where he says he had a physical problem. We don't know for how long he will be out. It seems like it's not as big of a deal. If you heard pretty short after the game, it came out that it wasn't that big a deal, but I don't know if he's back into complete full training. Maybe he is. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't find anything immediately giving me that knowledge, and I'm recording this right after work, so I haven't gotten to watch all the press conferences and whatnot from Maresca. But even still, I wouldn't expect him to start at the very, very least. I definitely wouldn't expect Tosin to start. And then this is the one I really wanted to read real fast. It says, ongoing mystery about Romeo Lavia. And it says, Romeo Lavia has not been seen, and we know some of this, since the Club World Cup victory over Benfica. And it was claimed to be a small muscle problem. And he still has yet to come back. And supposedly, at least as of this, which I think this is a day or two ago, has yet to return to full training. And guys, this is the thing that's a really big concern for me. Lavia, along with other players like Reece James, who has been in much better health as of late, thankfully, and Wesley Fofana, are these players that, man, do they have talent. Man, are they potentially I don't like throwing the word world class around very much, but the way people talk about Lavia, he is one of the youngsters that the whole world was looking at, coming up out of City's academy, and then of course we bought him from Southampton. But he needs to be healthy, and I don't know if this is just luck of the draw. I don't know if it's the way you prepare your body. I being a former athlete, I understand having nagging problems. I understand that some things are just the way your body works, chance, but also, with the amount of resources professional clubs have for their players, it amazes me to a little bit of an extent that these players aren't able to maintain health in a better capacity. Even if he becomes a player that, like we have with Reece, he only plays second half minutes for 30 minutes for the first 4 months of the season in order to make sure he's healthy. That's what we need to do, because this guy is such an asset and we need him to be healthy. So those are the two major things I see. From what I understand, Wesley Fofana, which we'll talk about that story in a second, or non-story in my opinion, seems like he actually is healthy and good to go. So we'll be talking about that as we build our lineup. So let's go ahead and do that as we're going to build our lineup on EAFC 25 Squad Builder. Okay, guys, so here we are, and let's just go ahead and straight run into this squad, how we're going to build it. A lot of these things are not going to be different for me week to week, but there will be a few changes that you'll notice. So Rob Sanchez will probably won't be moving there at all for me across Premier League and Champions League. Cup games and different things like that, maybe some of the easier quote-unquote games in the Premier League, maybe Jorgensen will get more minutes, but I think Rob will have the bulk of the workload. And then right back position, I got Reece James. He seems to be doing well. He picked up a yellow card last game. Not overly concerned about that. Obviously, he'll be starting on the right back position for me. He will always be my starter as long as he's healthy. Unless we do ever have a game where we're just like, let's have conventional fullbacks, then give Mallow the keys because he's brilliant at that role. And then the center back position, this is where things get interesting. So you see here that I have Wesley, Instagram, Fofana. And if you didn't hear about that story, basically, it's such a stupid problem we have in today's world, but he deleted a bunch of posts, both about Chelsea and about Leicester, on his profile. He probably changed his profile picture. I don't know. I don't really care. Everybody freaked out. Everyone freaked out. Everyone released, videos. Every, other teams talking about, oh, Fofana's an outcast. He's leaving. Oh, all these people talking about, oh, this is going to be an Isaac situation. Literally that day, maybe an hour or two later, he posted some stories making fun of Lavia, comparing him to a wrestler, all these different things. Do I think that it's dumb to release a video or to delete a bunch of posts on stuff in the midst of while, Maresca just had some comments about you and whatnot? Yeah. Was it maybe some immaturity? Maybe. Bottom line, I don't care. He's posted stuff throughout the week saying focus on Friday, like he's training with the team. I think he will play this game, whether he's starting as I have it slotted in or if he comes in after halftime, perhaps. I don't think it's worth getting your heart rate raised about so many different things in life. It is what it is. If he actually is upset, he's upset. He'll get over it. Rub some dirt on it, big dog. He'll be fine. So I have him starting next to Trev. Josh did nothing wrong, but I just don't think they're going to slate Josh as the all-time starter. And if Wes is ready, I do think he'll get those minutes. And he also likes having a bit of ball progression, which I think we're missing from having Levi out. While I will say he's not a like-for-like replacement, I do think he's a really solid center back. And then, of course, Mark on the left. The center of the field is what's likely never going to change for me in our biggest games. And I think every game in the Premier League is a big game. We have Enzo, we have Moises, and then we have Cole Palmer. Love those guys. I mean, that could potentially be the same for us for the next 5+ years. And then on the left and the right, this is where it changes for me a little bit. On the left, I have Gittins sitting, and that's no really fault to him. I just think there will likely be rotation here because I think the wingers aren't really chalk on, like, stamp them down as starters, period, like some of our other positions. So I think they'll get rotation. That'll keep them motivated. Oh, this is not my spot. Clamp down. Like, I have to keep working for this. Pedro Neto is our, most mature winger with a lot of Premier League experience. I think he'll start there, even though he's not quite as good as he's on the right. And the reason he'll start there is because this absolute star, and I'm aware this is not the Estevao that we have, but like I joked in our last video, he is not in this game, so I'm using this guy as a placeholder. This German goalkeeper named Estevao, which is really funny to me, but I do think he'll play. He was electric in the game against Crystal Palace. Yes, he makes some mistakes for sure, but he's going to make some Premier League defenders look like absolute fools, and I think he could make a guard look like a fool absolutely in this game. And I think his goal is coming soon for sure. So I have him, and then I have Joao Pedro up top. Coming off the bench, you could see Malo Gusto will probably come in for Reese at like minute 60, 65. I think you could definitely see Andre Santos come in for one of the two midfielders. Delap will absolutely come in. And I do think Gittins could possibly come in. So if you have Gusto, Santos, Delap, Gittins, I think all those guys could potentially come in this game to make a difference in the end. And I think we have a really strong lineup. So what do I think the score will be? I don't think, and I know I got my prediction wrong against Crystal Palace. I think I discounted them too much as a side. But West Ham on form, in my opinion, on talent as a team, and in my opinion, skill as coaching, like as a coaching staff, I don't think they have it this year. And I do think we'll win. I think we'll win 3, but I don't think we'll have a clean sheet. I think it'll be 3-1. I think either Bowen or Wilson will score for them. And I think for us, our goal scorers, I do still think Pedro will score. I think Estevao will score. And then lastly, I'm going to go, believe it or not, I'm going to go for an Enzo Fernandez goal. I think he's going to get his first goal contribution of the season, and we're going to get a 3-1 victory. So, guys, that does it for our match preview. West Ham versus Chelsea tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern time. If you're living in America, I believe that would be, about 8 o'clock if you're in the UK. And one cool thing, if it doesn't happen, no problem, but I want to start doing is every video, I want to look at your guys' comments down below. And if you guys have a comment or some kind of question about the team, I want to interact with that specifically probably at the beginning of next week's video. So if you guys drop down below, like, what do you think about this player? What do you think about this transfer rumor? I want to specifically pick one of those if I can every week and interact with that. So go ahead and leave comment down below. If you haven't already, like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. This is probably funny to hear. You guys, I'm sure, listen to a lot of other bigger YouTubers who are amazing at their work. My goal before the year end is to get to over 50 subs, and we're close to it. We're at 36, which is super fun. I'm actually thrilled, guys. I love Chelsea. It's a passion of mine, and I love having a community that we can do this together. I love making videos. I'm looking to continue to get better, but my goal is to get over 50 subs by the end of the year. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and do that as we continue to work towards that goal. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll connect next week. But up the Blues, and let's see how we do against the Hammers tomorrow.